Today, let's make some spicy red beans over polenta cakes. We're going to need some polenta. I have here 1 cup of cornmeal. This happens to be the white cornmeal. Either way, it doesn't matter, white, yellow, it's all the same. Actually, it's white and yellow mixed, see? Putting that into a pot, and I'm just gonna turn the heat to about medium. For me, that's like 3.5 out of 5. Ours only goes to 5. If you're doing this at home, I highly suggest doing it on your stovetop. I have here 4 cups of water as well that I'm just gonna add some to start with, because it spills all over the place from this particular container. And then we whisk. Probably going to use all 4 cups of water, generally does, but I don't like to add it all at once. I want to kind of mix it through. See, it already soaked up all that water, so I'm going to add some more. Try not to spill it everywhere. Some of you may know polenta as grits because they're sort of similar. They're not exactly the same thing. Grits are made from hominy. This is just cornmeal, which is basically the same, but not exactly the same. Some people get really angry about it.
It's a different texture, really.
Well, they're different sources is what it is. Different grinds too. So notice I'm adding the water, just keep adding it. As it starts to thicken up too much, you want to add that water. Otherwise it will burn to the bottom of this pan and you don't want to do that. The trick is keep stirring, and keep stirring. At this point though, I'm going to do the additions. And what's our first addition, Derica?
2 tablespoons nutritional yeast for that cheesy flavor. And 1 teaspoon of salt. We're using pink Himalayan, but choose the salt you like.
And then you want to make sure you mix those through too. They're both optional. If you really want to do it without the salt, you totally can. And if you really wanted to do it without the nutritional yeast, you can. It does, however, add that little cheesy flavor, like she said. And I can see this is starting to thicken up again already, so I'm just going to add in the rest of our water. Here's the thing. If you happen to add too much water to this one, it does kind of cook out because you have to cook this for like 15 or 20 minutes anyway. So a little too much isn't going to be a problem, but too little and you can burn. So be careful with that. And now I'm just going to keep stirring this and cooking it for about the next 15 minutes or so. And after about 10 to 12 minutes of stirring and cooking, it starts to look kind of like mashed potatoes. That's pretty much where you want to go with it. And now we're going to put it into a container so we can move on to the next step. Yeah, I'm just going to move it into a glass container with a lid. Derica's licking the whisk right now. How is it?
It's delicious. That's one of the benefits of being the assistant is you get to look at the whisk.
We call that chef snacks. Okay, one thing I'd like to say is while you can actually use it exactly the way it is now, just like this, you can put some on a plate and you can put the rest of what we're going to make on top of it. It's actually better if you stick this in the fridge overnight and let it set up and get nice and firm. And then later on, I'm going to show you a trick to make it even better. Next, it's time to prep some vegetables. So let's start with the onion. I'm going to keep it pretty simple with the onion. We're just going to go with maybe 1/4 inch slices like that, 1/4 of an inch, something in that range. Basically enough that it won't just dissolve when you cook it, but it won't be a huge honking chunk of onion that you got to bite through. Now that I have it sliced up, I'm just going to put that into a bowl on the side for cooking. What's next?
A green bell pepper.
You can use red, you can use yellow, you can use orange, but I wanted a little bit of color, and I'm just going to try to cut around that core and all the way down. Basically, I don't want the ribs, so I'm just going to slice those ribs right out. Somebody said that you don't have to cut the ribs out. I don't know. It's just something I've always done, so I try to keep consistent with that. I don't know. I know in hot peppers, that's where a lot more of the capsaicin is, but in a sweet pepper like this, I guess it doesn't make much difference. But it's prettier without it. Food should be pretty.
They say you eat with your eyes.
Yeah, exactly. And for these, roughly the same size as the onion. So I'm doing like little slices like that, and part of it was already kind of in half. So just cut that in half. Same idea on the rest. And scoop them up, put them in a bowl.
2 ribs of celery.
I know it looks like 4, but it's really 2. It's because the container we keep them in the fridge, you have to cut them in half to get them in there. So yeah, that. So I'm just going to cut the ends off first because, you don't want to eat the nasty dried up ends. And like over here, I'm going to cut that off. All right, so now that we have our 4 stalks, I'm actually going to cut them in half because I don't really want a huge piece of celery. This one I'm going to do thirds for part of it, just like that. Now you can just stack them up and cut them up. Just looking for nice little pieces to add to the dish. Essentially, we're doing the Trinity, which is from like Louisiana and New Orleans style cooking. But, you know, I'm not really going to call this one of their dishes because it's not exactly. And I don't want anybody to get mad at me for saying it is.
But it's certainly inspired by their flavor profile.
Oh, absolutely.
Next is mushrooms. Roughly 8 mushrooms, but we had some really large ones. So I think this is 7.
These have been rinsed, by the way. It's totally okay to rinse mushrooms. Don't let anybody tell you that they're going to soak up all this water. And they don't. It just doesn't happen. They have to sit in water forever to soak up water.
Yeah, I didn't soak them. I just rubbed them underneath running water so that way I get any of the growing media off of them.
Yeah, that's pretty much what you do. And I'm just cutting off a little bit of the bottom of them just because it gets a little dried out and isn't very nice to eat. So I just like to cut that off. And like she said, we have about that many, and I'm just going to slice them up. Doing maybe 1/8-inch slices. Don't get too worried about it. It's not crucial. But, you know, nice slices. Make sure you end up with all the fingers you started with, which is ironic because we're recording this on the 4th of July. And just like everything else, into the bowl. And then
3 large cloves of garlic.
did I write down 1 on the recipe or did I really write down 3?
I wrote down 3 large cloves, and that's why I stuck my hand in there to show that, in fact, they are large.
I'm going to smash them down. I know that shakes the camera. I'm really sorry. Once you do that, then you just chop them up. I'm doing kind of a rough chop. It doesn't have to be super finely minced. Something like that. And if you like more garlic, by all means, add more garlic. And now, the garlic.
You don't add that to the other bowl.
Right. You were going to say, you were thinking I was going to put it in the other bowl. Nope, it's going in this bowl over here. Because we don't want to put the garlic in right away. Those of you who watch the show know why. Okay, now we cook. And speaking of cooking, I have my cast iron pan here on our cooktop again. It's set to about 3, which is pretty hot for this, but I have a plan. Once it gets to feeling pretty warm, I didn't actually touch it because that's just way too hot. I am going to put our veggies in, everything but the garlic. And you might have noticed there's no oil in that pan because we don't need it. You should hear a bit of sizzle. If you don't, your pan's not hot enough yet. That sizzle means there's liquid coming out of the veggies that is going to be evaporating out. That's important for this cooking method so it doesn't stick. But I do want to just move stuff around, make sure it doesn't stick. I do, however, have a container of our homemade veggie broth ready just in case this starts to stick. And I'm just going to cook this for a few minutes until those mushrooms cook down a bit and everything is nice and soft. After a couple minutes of everything being in the pan, now it's safe to add the garlic in, because if we put it in right from the beginning, it could burn. But now it has all this other veg to sit on top of, so it won't burn. Okay, as you can see, our onions are starting to become a little translucent. The peppers are softening up. The mushrooms, see how they shrunk? A lot. That's because they give up some of their moisture, and that's actually what's cooking in the pan right now, is all the moisture from the veggies themselves. See, I told you we didn't need any oil. Next, though, we are going to add in our beans.
So this is a full can of kidney beans.
Why? Because I like kidney beans, and you know, the whole red beans and rice thing, that's kind of what this was modeled after. Sort of. Not really, but a little bit. So that's what we're going with. And then, after you add the beans, you want to get some more liquid in there. Otherwise, those beans can start to stick and burn.
A full can of diced tomatoes.
These happen to be the Hunt's no salt added ones. We tend to cook without a lot of salt. I might add some here and there, but that way I'm controlling the salt going in rather than someone else. At this point, I'm going to turn the heat way down, putting it to minimum. I just want to mix this all through. There's a decent amount of liquid in with those tomatoes too, and that's going to add to things, but it's going to cook off quite a bit as well.
Now it's time for some flavor. 1 tablespoon smoked paprika, a half tablespoon oregano, a half tablespoon thyme, cayenne pepper to taste. Today we're using a half teaspoon, 1 teaspoon sugar.
Now, if you don't want to add the sugar, you don't have to. I just find that a lot of time canned tomatoes tend to be a little bit acidic, so I wanted to add some.
Don't forget black pepper.
Fresh cracked black pepper, that is. And I'm going to put a decent amount in this. This is kind of a peppery thing. Then give it all a good mix. Get everything moving around. Okay, it's looking really good so far, but I want a little bit more gravy in there. So I'm going to make a slurry. I have a half cup of cold veggie broth and
2 tablespoons of all-purpose flour.
give that whiskey business. You want to really blend this up so there's no clumps.
If you don't blend it before adding it to a hot situation, you're going to have clumps and lumps.
Oh, yeah. This will act as a thickener, though. It's kind of like if I had made a roux in the beginning, but instead I'm using a slurry because this way I don't have to add any fat to this. If you've noticed, there's no oil. There's been no added fat whatsoever to this dish.
I don't know about you folks, but I'm getting hungry.
Yeah, this already smells really, really good. Okay. I whisked it as much as I want to. Now I'm just going to mix that through. I had it turned all the way too low, just so you're aware. But here's what's going to happen. As that starts to cook, it's going to thicken. You can already see it. It's making a gravy. It's thickening up the juices that are in there already. And it just makes this lovely gravy all around everything. And that's where it differs from a New Orleans style. This is not the way they do it at all. But I like it. Okay, now this can sit for a little bit on a really low temperature, even just like on barely warm if you wanted to, because it's going to get a little bit thicker as it goes, but you don't want it to burn to the bottom. So I'm going to basically turn it off because I know my cast iron will keep it hot. And we're going to move this to the side. Okay, a few days ago, I made up some polenta and put it in the fridge so that I didn't have to wait till tomorrow to finish this video. And as you can see, it's lovely. And there's some liquid in there, so I want to be careful. But I'm going to flip this out. Look at that. It comes right out of the glass beautifully. No oil put into that glass at all to hold it in place. And what we're going to do is we're going to make polenta cakes out of this. So what I'm going to do is just take a slice off, and the rest is going to go back in there. And you can do this any shape you really want to. For today, we're just going to make one plate up of this just so you can see what it looks like. So I'm just going to cut that in half. And there is our chunk of polenta. The rest goes back in the fridge. Use it for, other things. Wipe up all that excess liquid before it drips everywhere, though.
The volume of polenta that we've made and the volume of toppings that we've made should equal out. We're just doing this one cake for you just for demonstration purposes.
Right, exactly. And what I want to do is take this and put it in my air fryer. Just as it is, nothing extra, nothing else on it. 400 degrees for about 5 to 8 minutes. You want it to get just a little bit brown on the edges. Okay, so once the polenta cake comes out of the air fryer, notice it's nice and golden brown. Take some of the bean mixture and put it over the top. Maybe a little more bean mixture over the top. And then, to be super special, some green onion, scallion, whatever you like to call them, chopped up, put on top. And there you have it. You know what time it is, the best time of every cooking video right now. We're gonna taste this.
Air frying the polenta gives it a really nice crust, but when you're not using the knife that's right in front of you, it makes it difficult to cut.
That's why we got a knife out. The polenta cake adds to the richness of the dish, gives a little more texture on the polenta. You can totally do it with just loose polenta, like I said. I just like the polenta cake a little bit more.
One of the things I love about this dish is the contrast of the creamy polenta and then that little spicy kick of the beans and the veg. It's a beautiful play off of the textures and the flavors and the colors and the aroma and everything. It's just a really great dish. It seems like it's really simple, right? You saw how few steps there were to make this, but it tastes just really elevated. We actually had
elevated
a dish just like this at a restaurant, and it's what...
Yep, it's actually what inspired it.
Yeah.
Yep. So, yeah, super easy, very Starch Solution compliant, as a matter of fact. Whole food, plant-based, other than ground up cornmeal, which, come on. But it's really, really easy, and you can spice it to your taste.
Yeah.
I have done this where I put jalapenos in it and things like that, and it was a lot spicier, and I liked it. Derica, not so much.
I enjoyed it. It was just a little painful.
This one actually has just a little bit of a kick to it, so it's kind of nice. So some people might like it a little bit less spicy than this even, but As always, guys, thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time on The Bistro.
Bistro.